Hi, we're Blue Hands. You're watching the Vocalist Magazine TV.
Hi, my name is Jared and I'm here with Blue Hands, and this is the Vocalist Magazine. So, first of all, where are you guys from, and how did this band originate?
We're from Toronto, and originally I was working with the drummer in high school. I was in like a kind of silly high school band with him, and then we both moved to Montreal, and he started working with Alex. They're in the same program, electroacoustics.
So you met in Montreal?
I met Alex. Well, I got close with Alex in
Okay.
Montreal, yeah.
We'd played one show before in Toronto, but yeah.
So the band really started in Montreal?
Yeah.
We were all just bored enough and had enough free time and kind of wanted to do something new because we were in a different city. So we thought, I want to learn how to play bass. Paul can play drums. Izzy, you're a good singer, and here's an omnichord. And we were like, that's a really weird band. Let's make some music with it.
What's the omnichord?
Omnichord is essentially like an electric harpsichord. It's kind of like a toy synth.
Okay.
It sounds like a harpsichord, but yeah, it has like buttons and you just run your finger along a circuit. It's pretty weird. It's from 1984, our version.
The OM84.
So it keeps dying and like coming back to life, and we have to like fix it before every show.
It's so temperamental.
It's so worthy. It's so worthy.
So the sound of your music is very different. Like, I've never really heard anything like it. It's very interesting though. So how would you describe your music?
You take this one.
I'd say grunge plays like a large. But I mean, we've started going towards that direction. First, with our first album, I thought there was a lot of punk.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of
ambient
ambient,
stuff too.
very syncopated.
Okay.
Noise.
A mixture, yeah, just a mixture of a bunch of things. But I'd say definitely some grunge.
It's like dream-like ambient noise grunge or whatever. If we're gonna string
Like
together a bunch of words,
yeah.
like people like to do for some reason, post-internet ambient noise grunge.
So if it's like there's electronic to it, but there's also music, like there's live music at the same time.
Yeah, I think like a big part of that is Paul and Alex are both like producers, and Alex is in the EA program, so the mixture of both is definitely
we write music like it's electronic, kind of in most cases. We have a few songs where we've started to kind of embrace being live musicians and trying to record things one take all the way through off the floor with just bass drums, vocals or whatever, which is really fun. But we do a lot of writing where we'll lay down a beat, a bunch of weird sounds, field recordings, and then go, oh, Izzy, here, listen to this and come up with some ideas. And then we usually, after like a month or so, end up with something that's kind of like a song and just build off it from there. It takes a long time, but it's cool.
And do you guys draw inspiration from other musicians? Because it's not very mainstream what you guys are doing.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we all incorporate our own inspirations into the music. I know Alex really likes
Don't say it. We get compared to Death from Above a lot, but it's kind of, we can't avoid that because it's a distorted bass guitar, and we do like Death from Above. It's a great band. I've got really into the Blood Brothers in the past couple of years, and that definitely influenced like the way I've brought contributions to the band, like lots of hardcore influences, but we kind of always end up with something a little more dreamlike, which probably comes from mostly you, I'd say.
Yeah.
When you say dreamlike, what, like smooth? Is that the
Smooth, but also weird, kind of how you have dreams that are
not exactly
not explainable. Yeah, they're not exactly strung together in like a logical way. I think that's.
Is there any improv involved in this?
Definitely.
It's all improv, as in like we have half an idea and then it's like, okay, quick, come up with something. And often the first takes will make it into the final recordings in most of the cases. Because once you nail something the first time, and you're like, oh, cool, that was a really cool idea, and then you try and recreate it, it doesn't
It's not
have the same nuance.
We're not about like trying to get it perfect or like have it sound like some kind of manufactured sound. We want it to be as, I think, representative of ourselves at the
We
time.
like mistakes. We really like mistakes. Any vocal cracks, any like weird scrapes on the bass, or Paul like.
Oh, those will go into the final recording?
Yeah,
Okay.
usually.
It
Yeah.
kind of makes it a little more interesting for us, I think, because then, like maybe those will turn into something finished later, but in like a performance of the song. So.
And so, since it's not such a conventional style, what is your musical upbringing, and how did you get into making music like this?
You first.
Okay, my musical upbringing. I actually started singing when I was like 3 years old at my church.
Okay.
And then all through school, I was singing in choirs. And I was kind of always in more of a direction of opera or like choral
There's
singing.
no opera in this, is there?
There's no opera, but there is like a lot of choral,
Okay.
more like soft, like that's what makes it kind of a weird mix, I find, is because I can go from like grunge, raspy, which has probably been developed since I moved to Montreal, and then the choral
Okay.
operatic singing. So that's, and then I joined like a weird funk band in high school, and that's kind of how I got associated with Alex.
Yeah. I took piano lessons when I was 7, quit after a month because I hated it. Went to a camp called Computer Camp for Kids when I was 12. And they taught me how to use the sequencer in FL Studio. Like, that was it for a month. And it was just, I was terrible. I was so bad. Like,
Okay.
some of the... So
Good
the worst,
start, man.
like the worst music I've ever heard. I think I've made it. Like, but then at some point when I was 16, it was like Boxing Day. There was a sale at some shop, and I went out and bought a DAW. It was like $45, and they had like this virtual piano kind of sound font, and I started making music with it, and suddenly something just made sense. Like, it just sounded good. Like, harmony was there. I had a concept of like, and I had an ability to create interesting harmony all of a sudden. And so I just kept doing that for a long time, and eventually kind of got interested in performing live. And then I remember there was an opportunity to play at a big venue in Toronto called the Great Hall through a promotion company. And I asked to get on this bill, and the promoter was like, no, sorry, man, like, it's not happening. And then I talked to Paul,
Yeah.
who is the drummer in Blue Hands, and I knew him through our ex-girlfriend,
Yeah.
and we, he was like, yeah, you come on for a song, which is really weird, because this is how I met Isabella.
It's my funk band.
Okay.
We played this show, and it was like, a funk band is like indie, like rock, pop
Just
funk,
like, yeah, fun, like high school
and then
stuff.
like a really weird electronica moment in that set was just it was like such a dumb idea, but it was really fun. Like, we learned a lot, and I kind of learned how to I had to learn how to interface with live musicians, and then from there, you know, we all moved to Montreal, and I started learning bass guitar, and here we are.
Okay. Okay, cool. So you're gonna release your second album in about like 3 weeks' time. How is this different from the first one? Like, what? Because already the music's so different. Is this one same style?
It's a lot more composed. We like, there was a lot of like sitting down. Like, in terms of my contributions to it, I know that I sat down with the bass and I started, oh, this is a cool chord progression, or this is a cool riff, and then kind of taking that to the others and going, hey guys, what do you think of this? Instead of just being like, okay, make a beat.
Okay,
And then,
so there's a bit less improv to it in a sense?
That, and I think we've also become more comfortable with each other as
Okay.
people. So I've noticed like we just mesh more, and our sounds have come together, our different styles.
we're not grasping at straws anymore.
Exactly, and it makes it easier to build more complex
So it's better.
music. It is better.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just better. It's
But like musically, you mesh a lot better now.
Yeah,
than
yeah,
before. Okay.
a lot more.
I think the songs are a lot more cohesive as wholes. I think
Exactly.
the album is a lot more cohesive. It's also longer, which is really nice, because the first one was a bit like a little taste. But I think if it was any longer, it would have overstayed its welcome, because we really blasted basic conventions like high contrast in terms of the arrangements of each song. Like, okay, so we're going to have like a really loud part here. It's going to get really quiet.
Okay.
And then it's going to get really loud, like that kind of stuff, right? There wasn't much flow, and I feel like this time we still do that, but we've kind of learned how to have the sections flow into each other more, and nicer transitions,
Okay.
and just better musicianship.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how much work was put into like this album? How long did it take all in all?
I think a lot of work. I think just aside from Alex's mixing and mastering, I'm sure that's taken a really long time. Well, overall, it was like a year and a half.
It was like almost 2.
Almost
since
2
we wrote
years.
the first song.
I would spend a lot of time at Alex's house last year. Just like we'd be writing like until 3 in the morning and like sleep on his couch and then writing the
Pancakes.
next morning. They have pancakes. It's like a classic thing we do.
Gotta have pancakes.
What?
Gotta have pancakes.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said no pancakes.
Well, now it's crepes.
Okay.
We've upgraded.
Anyways, yeah. So it's taken a really long time. A really long
Okay,
time.
and since the band is stopping after this album release, that's the end. What are you guys gonna do musically after this? What are your plans?
I want to know what your plans are, actually.
Well, my plans, I think my plans are gonna start with Alex is doing an end of the year project for one of his EA courses, and it's to record an artist, and so he's taken the opportunity to ask me to write some songs for him. So I think that's going to be the beginning of some more solo work on my part. And
Do you think you could start performing solo?
I think I'm just going to start by investing more time in my solo music.
And what is that? It's your voice and your
Piano.
And
And
piano,
piano,
okay.
yeah, which I actually used to do before my funk band in high school for a long time, and then I kind of dropped it. But I'm going to be focusing on that for a bit, and we're probably going to still do things.
Yeah, I mean, we have we have other musical outlets where the 3 of us are involved. It's very incestuous, but it's very different at the same time. We have another project called Wax Limbs, which kind of is what became.
That's you 3.
Well, it's what became of my noodlings around on the computer when I was younger, and it kind of turned into just me writing songs and being like, oh shit, like I really need a drummer for this. Paul, listen to this, what do you think? And then he'd come up with something. Izzy, what do you think? And then we'd kind of write lyrics together and kind of work on the vocals and other stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And so would you do solo stuff, or?
I'm always doing solo
That's
stuff.
like
Okay,
part
that
of
is-
his
okay.
solo project, but he works like with a lot of
I just involve myself
people.
with a lot of friends,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and he's part of Plutoid, or
Yeah, that's a label
It's
that
just a label.
Paul and I. Well, it's a small label that Paul and I run out of Toronto, and we kind of just release our friends' music, and just everybody tries to help each other out with the usual processes to get heard.
and a lot of it's very like odd, unconventional music. So it's nice to have like a community that is all like kind of pressing for that kind of sound.
Okay. And so just one final thing. So your show is coming up soon.
Yeah,
Are you guys excited? Anything you'd like to say about that?
I'm really excited.
Come to it. It's I think it'll be really different from pretty much everything else we've done with this band, and by different I mean better and tighter and a little more slick, more fun.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we have a new member who plays with us live,
Okay.
who's
What instrument?
really added into it, Kevin, and he.
Kevin is the instrument, and he is played by guitars and synthesizers. But we're also a big part of this album release is we're running a Kickstarter campaign to get our cassettes
Okay.
made for the record, because we just kind of want a little something physical to drop.
Yeah.
And then, that's
Yeah.
it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's March 24th?
Yes.
Yes.
Casa.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much, and this has been lovely.
Thank you.